Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back now to EU West Challenger Series number 4. We're going to be heading into a best of 3 between TCM and Absolute Legends any second now. I think we are just going to be sitting in the lobby, and I am Spuddington, and I am joined today by Metas.
Hey man, how's it going?
Pretty decent at the moment, pretty decent. We did have a little bit of a delay because the previous best of 3 finished quite quickly indeed. Pretty dominant performance we saw from, what's their name? Most of them are former Dragonborns. I can't remember their actual name
Heimerdinger's
now.
Colossi.
Heimerdinger's Colossi. That might act. The thing about that name is, of course, it might be an actual league somewhere in the system, but we are going to be heading into this game, and Broken Shard did in fact promise that he would play Jungleheimer, but then he said he was lying, so we'll be seeing what happens there. We have got some bans coming out, and I just want to forewarn chat, because I know this comes up every single time. For Champion Select only, we will be behind where you would expect us to be. Like, at what we're saying will come out after what's happening on the screen. But anyway, Twisted Fate, Zed, Zac, Thresh, Elise, and one ban left to come. What do you think, Metas?
Well, yeah, I mean, fairly standard bans. Twisted Fate, again, the global presence is absolutely ridiculous. I think I'm a fair distance behind you, though, on the stream, like 10-20 seconds, the same with Stress. So, again, we are watching the stream because the spectator slots have been taken by our streamers, which is why we're having the delay issues. But we are into the 6th ban here, I assume, Spud. Maybe it's already gone for you. But yeah, I am behind you, so I'm going to try and play catch-up while we're in the Champion Select.
Yeah, well, I will try and keep you informed on exactly what's been going on. Broken Shard at the moment hovering over Heimerdinger jungle. You know, if he does take it, he is a man. If he does not take it, he is not a man. As to, you know, what you choose to interpret from that, that's entirely up to you. But the final ban was a Java on the 4th, so very much standard bans there, locking out kind of just generally strong picks all across the board. No particular role, no particularly targeted bans, as far as I'm aware. Broken Shard coming up on the screen there. I will play Jungleheimer, confirmed here. However, he's locked in Sona.
So that would therefore mean he's no longer a man. So he lost his masculinity. Oh. Or that's true. Maybe someone will pick and switch with him. It could still be on the cards. But yeah, the Sona lock-in, obviously a lot of poke-centric champion, plus the crescendo at level 6 is going to be a game changer if you can line them up perfectly. On the flip side, you do see a Shen coming out. Obviously wasn't banned and will slip through the cracks. So the global presence still well and truly on the map in the form of the Ninja.
Yeah, Absolute Legends there, picking up both Shen and Rumble. So obviously those two champions are typically expected to be in that top lane, so can see sometimes Shen jungle, and we have also seen occasionally a Rumble jungle, but I would also not be too surprised if we saw a Rumble mid, because I feel like it's a very underrated mid champion. He roams extremely well once he's hit level 6, and he does put a lot of pressure onto his lane opponent. Obviously Rumble has quick, good mobility between lanes with that W, very spammable movement speed, and obviously the range on his ultimate and the ability for his ultimate to just set up a kill is, almost second to none when it comes to actually ganking, for instance, in that bot lane. But anyway, we have obviously got both of those champions picked out, and it does look like we're going to be seeing maybe a decent bit of AoE coming out from TCM, because they have now locked out Sona and Ezreal, but also picking up Irelia.
Lots and lots of poke, and level 6, lots of burst damage, as you said. So with the Irelia, obviously you're going to have to pick a nice peeling champion or two alongside Shen, because if they don't pick an AD with an escape, Irelia will be all over their face and we'll just be chasing them down all game long. So that's one to watch out for. Interestingly enough, actually, before this game, Spuddington, I was speaking to Broken Shard. Obviously, he does normally cast alongside us, now playing with TCM. I asked him what his predictions were on the game. He was completely comfortable. It was a 2-0 victory for TCM. I asked him which players to watch out for, and in typical Broken Shard fashion, he said, me. Always me. So keep your eye on Broken Shard throughout this game. He's feeling very, very confident going into it.
However, he has lost his manhood, so I don't care about anything he has to say. We do have potentially now a Draven Janna lane coming out, and I want to say I really actually like that pickup against Sona Ezreal, because Draven is very difficult for Ezreal to deal with, just generally in his mechanics. Obviously, Draven can harass from completely within the minions completely safely, and put a lot of pressure on Ezreal, make life very difficult for him. And Janna actually obviously synergizes extremely well with Draven. Having that shield put on him gives him that bonus AD. It makes his axes so much damage in that early game and gives him incredibly strong poke. And also, the shield is a very good choice against that kind of Sona style, where she goes for that Q, goes for that auto attack, power chord, lots of burst, but it gets nullified mostly by that shield. So although Janna isn't typically thought of as the strongest early game champion, she is still extremely good in this situation. And yeah, I really do like that setup. But we have now got Lissandra and Nocturne being locked in.
Yeah, Lissandra. Wow, haven't seen her played a great deal thus far. And the other great thing about Janna as well, I was saying before about you need, a lot of feel against a character like Irelia. And also, if Nocturne has been locked in, again, very dive-centric team. Irelia and Nocturne are going to dive on top of Draven's face, and they're going to try and pop him instantly. But the great thing about Janna is the Howling Gale and the Monsoon are great tools to basically push back Irelia and Nocturne. So that's one to watch out for as the game progresses. But very strong lineup here from TCM coming into this one. Now the final pick getting locked down for Absolute Legends. I can see on my screen it's Jace. Have they locked that in, Spud?
They have not yet locked that in. Although if they were to pick up Jace, I do think that would suit them very, very well. Because one of the biggest problems you face up against Ezreal is just the poke that can come out if he goes for that blue build. Obviously the Mirror Mana, the Iceborne Gauntlet, sometimes with the Bloodthirster, sometimes not. But obviously, it's actually been swapped out now for Kha'Zix, who fills kind of a similar role, maybe a little less poke-orientated. But Kha'Zix and Jace, both of them have that function in that they can do a lot of poke. So there's actually, you can't get trapped in a situation where Ezreal is just poking you and you have no kind of return fire. I mean, obviously they always have the means to make engagements happen. They have Rumble available, so they can just, put down the equalizer and then follow that up with a ton of damage. But having that poke as an option is a very important fact when you're up against that kind of Ezreal build. But yeah, we are going to be seeing Lissandra presumably in that mid lane. I mean, I'd be very surprised to see it top. So what do you think?
Very interesting. There's a lot of threats. The first thing that just hits me in the face is there are always a lot of threats on Absolute Legends team. You've got Draven, you've got Rumble and Kha'Zix, and all of them are going to deal a lot of damage. If you have the Nocturne and Irelia jumping on top of Draven, you have the disengage from Janna, but if that's not on the cards, they can also pop the Equalizer from Rumble and basically fight on top of the Equalizer. And that's not a place that Irelia or Nocturne want to be in. So I'm very interested to see how this game's going to pan out. But I'm going to throw a quick question to you, Spuddington. I know you've been playing quite a bit of Lissandra recently. I personally have played her once or twice, but what are your impressions on Lissandra as a champion? Where does she excel and where does she have weaknesses?
Kind of weakness is basically laning phase. Strength is basically everything else. Her team fighting is great. Her roaming ganks are incredible. She has amazing gank paths. But I think we're going to be moving into a quick commercial break while we wait for this game to start. So we will be joining you in just a minute, and we should be getting underway pretty quickly.
Hello ladies and gents, welcome back to Kaostv's live coverage of the US Challenger Series number 4 featuring Absolute Legends against TCM. This is the second best of 3 this evening. I'm Metis and I'm joined by the lovely Spuddington. Now before the break we were talking about Lissandra and I know you wanted to touch on her again there about the strengths and weaknesses. So how else do you think she's going to have an impact in this game going forward?
So I feel like Lissandra's laning phase is a little bit dodgy. First, like this is the first thing you'll notice about playing her. She's not so easy to completely shut down because obviously she has a very good escape in the form of her E, which is technically called Glacial Path, but I always refer to it as the Claw. But she has the Claw obviously as an incredibly strong escape, but it's on a very long cooldown. It's on a 23-second cooldown, in fact, at rank 1. That means that if she uses it offensively, obviously she's then committed for that early game, which is her kind of the way you can catch her out. But it's also a very, very good escape, and she has no real need to use it offensively unless, for instance, her own jungler is ganking. So her range problems in a pure one-on-one do tend to kind of show up, though. Her Q is conditionally about as long-ranged as most characters', offensive skills, but you have to be hitting creeps with it, which means either pushing your wave or kind of getting very, very close to your opponent, which is it's a little bit dodgy. But the thing that makes her so good is the Claw, basically. She, post level 6, when she's looking to do roaming, she is an incredible machine because she actually has gank paths that you can basically compare to Zack's. You can say, Zack is one of the only champions that can go, it's like Zack, Kassadin, and Shaco and Lissandra that can kind of go behind the enemy's tower to that near the blue buff, that kind of tri-brush there. You can actually just jump straight over that wall and into the lane, and that is just terrifying, particularly if your lane is pushed up and you have Lissandra on your face. You have the Q with the slow, you have the W with the root, you have the R with the stun, and it's just all CC all the time, and she really doesn't lack for damage either. So she's obviously an extremely strong roamer, but you do have to get through that slightly dodgy laning phase early, and later on into the game she will have good roaming still, but she's a little bit has a little bit of difficulty with just straight up roaming, and has good damage, but it's conditional upon her being very all in. So her team fight is very strong initially, but tends to fall off if the fight drags out for a long time. But yeah, that's pretty much my thoughts on Lissandra, and it does look like we have got a pretty standard laning setup here, Metas.
Yeah, the two dual lanes at bot lane. We actually have some action here from Snipperfight on towards the Sona, doing a lot of damage with, of course, the axes. Alongside Janna, as you said before, if you can get the axes running with the shield, there's a lot of damage. So they're going to pop that one on again, just try and pick up some CS. In the meantime, at top lane, you do have Nocturne peering around, which of course is Broken Shard. So Broken Shard and Zola are going to try and make something happen. At bot lane, you do have Snipperfight flashing up red, will manage to escape, and Broken Shard seems to decide, okay, I've stayed around here a bit too long, I'm going to pull back to my jungle and farm.
Yeah, it's obviously a very odd thing, actually, that you happen to be falling behind as a Draven lane, essentially. Draven's strength is very much orientated towards that early game. I mean, he is just all about spinning axes, and spinning axes remain very, very strong late game, but it's much harder to actually catch them in a very chaotic teamfight situation. So obviously Draven does best in his lane, but right now obviously has been pushed out. He is now down 10 CS actually to Ezreal, who's taken the opportunity to go back, got that longsword, got more pots. So maybe Draven is just going to be getting his strat on at level 3, but it's going to be interesting to find out about that, and we could potentially see Shen coming in on this mid. Broken Shard also hanging around the area.
Yeah, as you said before though, the Claw does have a long cooldown, but it is currently available for use. So even if Shen comes in, he should be, Lissandra should be fine for the foreseeable future. Nocturne is also coming around the side here. Kha'Zix does have a point in his jump in the leap. So we are going to have an engage kicking off. Lots of damage in, but the leap has been used here. The Claw was used aggressively as well, so we're going to be turning back on towards Nocturne. Broken Shard in the meantime will be putting down some damage, and you have to feel this is pretty much going to go nowhere. just a bit of tit for tat and pull themselves back to the lane and back to the farming once again. Lots of damage actually going down onto Bano here, but he should be fine.
Yeah, Kha'Zix being a melee, and actually at top we had an engagement that I didn't even catch. Irelia versus Rumble. Both of them have gone very, very low. Both of them have used Ignite and Flash, but neither of them has actually died. And yeah, this poke right now in the mid, sorry, Broken Shard getting taunted under the tower has been taken very, very low. As a result of that, he's going to be okay, but that was very, very close, very much closer than he would like. And now Kaostv is potentially, he should be good to go. He has been taunted though. Kha'Zix is jumping in on him, doesn't have the damage to actually take him out, so that's not going to be a problem either. But now Kaostv is pressed into his tower, has no mana to speak of, and no health either. So it's going to be kind of a reversal of what Broken Shard and Kaostv were doing to Kha'Zix, in that now he's the one potentially at his tower, going to be forced to allow his opponent to go back and take a lot of farm loss without getting any real return for it. But now in top lane, I've just got to keep an eye out on that top lane. I mean, Zola right now, look at that health metas.
Yeah, it's pretty scary. Level 5 as well. Getting towards level 6. So at level 6, of course, with the Transcendent Blades. In fact, hold that thought for a second, because I can see Nocturne flashing up red there. He was on his Wolves, and also Zola's flashing up red. So Transcendent Blades have been popped off. Equalizer comes down. Does go the wrong way, though, in that sense. So Zola is going to be okay. And recall as well. Meanwhile, at bot lane, lots of action between these two. They've been at each other's throats since the get-go. Flash comes out, and Draven has gone for the jugular, takes down Sona, and that will be a first blood. So it was looking really precarious just a couple moments ago, but now Draven is back on track.
Yeah, that's the kind of thing Draven loves to do. Obviously, just pick up first blood, gets him snowballing really far ahead, and any farm difference now isn't going to be too big. Oh, we've actually got the ult going down in mid. Kaostv blowing P-line Bano, however you'd say that. Kha'Zix blowing him up very, very hard, but didn't quite have enough damage to follow it up. So obviously, it's going to force Kha'Zix out of lane, but the ult. That Frozen Tomb does have a long cooldown. I'm going to be interested to see if Kaostv can manage to really make a big advantage, because he is in danger if Kha'Zix comes back into the lane before that ultimate has come up. If Kha'Zix can do that, then there's obviously a big risk that Kaostv could just be all in and taken down himself. Obviously, he does still have the claw, so it's always going to be a bit difficult to bring him out of the lane completely, as in dead. But obviously, there is a risk he'll be forced out in return. So we are now kind of getting a little bit more quiet here. So what's your kind of view, Metas, on both teams' kind of attempts at Dragon here? Do you feel like either side has a particular motive to go for Dragon over the other side?
Well, both teams seem fairly content to farm at the moment. I'm just having a quick glance over. Neither of the top laners have teleport, so you're not going to have something coming down from there. It's going to be fairly obvious if they do try a 5-man Dragon push. Kha'Zix actually has teleport, which is interesting in itself. So we could see potentially a Kha'Zix gank at bot lane, followed up from a Draven, if, of course, from a Drake, I should say, if of course it is successful. So that's one to watch out for. I'm also interested to see how the synergy between Kaostv and also Broken Shard is going to go down, because Kaostv is actually a replacement. He's a substitute for this game. So how is the synergy going to work out there between Lissandra and Nocturne? Only time will tell. You do have the bot lane, though, from TCM recalling. That's going to be well, the standard blue buff. I guess you could call it the standard now from Ezreal, because everyone seems to do it. Spirit Stone plus the double longsword. So fairly straightforward stuff there at bot lane. And Draven has picked up his BF sword. So interesting stuff.
Yeah, obviously having that BF sword now will just give him that extra oomph on his Q. Also now getting 32 attack damage from Janna Shield. So potentially just absolutely mental damage from just one auto attack. But we have actually got a counter-warding war going on in this top lane. You've actually seen Irelia clear out the ward from Rumble, and then Rumble return with his own pink to do much the same. But he is against Nocturne, so Nocturne is going to just jump straight on him. Paranoid goes down. I've got the Fear down as well, and Irelia is jumping in. Shen on top of that. Equalizer goes down, but Shen does not appear. But we have got teleport cancelled by Kha'Zix, because he suddenly realized Shen had not appeared, and he would have been jumping himself into a 1-on-2, and will also be refunding half his cooldown, but that's still quite a long cooldown loss. And actually at bottom now we've got ultimate coming down from Draven, spinning axe as well. That's a lot of damage there, Sona.
Wow.
Now dead.
Yeah, she pretty much got 100 to 0'd in, what, a heartbeat? That was unbelievably fast. Whirling Death, living up to its name at the end there, and Draven goes 2-0, 70 to 77 CS though. So even though he does have the kill advantage, slight CS advantage overall to Ez, but of course he will be behind on the gold. So yeah, I mean, just glimpsing back at the top play as well, Kha'Zix was a tiny bit late with his teleport. Maybe the communication was slightly delayed there. But that was a massive victory to TCM in the sense that Stand United and the teleport from Kha'Zix were both burnt pretty much for nothing. They still secured the kill on Rumble, who used his equalizer in the process. He's going to have another 32 seconds remaining on the equalizer, so TCM looking pretty strong right now globally.
Yeah, that's good. Just going to give them a real edge when it comes to probably a dragon play. And yeah, you're seeing Broken Shard now moving towards that dragon area. Possibly going to be going for a gank on bottom, but it does look like he's aware there's no wards, and it does look like Snipify is also aware there's no wards, and also aware that Broken Shard is very likely to have gone there. So he's going to back out, be a little bit careful. And yeah, like I say, this is now kind of Broken Shard, and by extension, TCM's time to make plays on that dragon, because right now, obviously, Shen ult is down. They do have that Kha'Zix teleport down. The Sandra getting taunted in that mid lane. They're not going to be taking too much damage, and it actually looks like they're going to pressure down this tower, which would suit them down to the ground, actually, on the subject. Wow, Draven! Oh my lord, he's gone very, very low there. Nothing too serious coming of it. But as I was saying, having that tower now in mid gone is going to mean TCM can just pressure this dragon very easily.
Yeah, especially with the True Shot Barrage going right through the center of Snipify on Draven. He has to recall, as I said before, if a successful gank or successful play happens at bot lane, watch for TCM to pounce on Drake, and it's exactly what they've done here. 4 players strong. Although Whirling Death comes in very, very nearly stealing the Drake out of Broken Shard, but he does manage to smite that one down and will claim himself Drake. At top lane, you have some more action going on. Actually, Rumble could be falling here. Never mind that, went into the danger zone. And that was quite scary, plus the fact that Zola didn't have a great deal to clean up that kill, but is looking very strong. 73 to 71 CS at top lane, extremely close, but you do have the assist coming over for Irelia to just the 1 death for Rumble.
Yeah, it's one of those things about Rumble is that although he exerts huge pressure in that top lane, he does have some real problems with just actually farming. I mean, he forces your opponent completely away from the creeps, but then his auto attack animation is a bit weird. He has low base AD, low base attack speed, and his abilities are pretty ill suited for guaranteeing last hits, so you end up just missing out on a lot of farm. But obviously, whereas Aurelia is the flip side of that. Every time you think you're about to miss a CS, you have Blade Surge available, getting that refund on the mana and the cooldown if you get it. So Aurelia can farm under tower almost better than Rumble can farm just pretty much uncontested in the lane. However, I would say it's a lane I would definitely favor Rumble in, just because Aurelia almost can't get to a point where she can reasonably fight against Rumble, like almost to any degree, because Rumble builds, you know, stats that are pretty good against Aurelia. He builds lots of health, and he also has that scrap shield, which just gives him effective health without actually giving him any health at all. We had got Kaostv potentially looking for a gank on bot, but doesn't look like anything's going to happen, and Broken Shard is hanging around the area.
Indeed, so Broken Shard is still lurking around double gold. He's going to be pulling himself back. The red buff is up, so probably going to go ahead and pick that one up for himself. Now, there is a bit of a discrepancy between the two junglers right now. Broken Shard has a lead on XP and also CS, and that's going to be reflected in the items he's picked up for himself. Has a Kindle Gem to Shen's Ruby Crystal, and they both have the build-ups from the Machete, of course. You've got Shen going for the Madrid's Razors and Nocturne going for the Spirit Stone. He's going to be moving towards bot lane again, and his ultimate is off cooldown. So you're going to have an engage here as Sona goes in with the Crescendo. True Shot Barrage comes through. Here comes the Nocturne Paranoia. Beautiful Monster, pushing back the AD carry threat, but the Fear has procced, and Ezreal jumps back in once again to claim the kill. Here comes the Claw and the engage from the backside, though, from Lysandra, and Kaostv jumping back in again. Abyss should be falling here. It's actually Sona of all players that will pick that kill up. And here comes Kha'Zix alongside the Stand United Shen coming through the side. Could be taking down Broken Shard. They pick up 1 kill, but at what cost? They're going to take down another 2 players. So that was somewhat of a catastrophe for Absolute Legends there. TCM going 4-3 ahead. And you can see on the global gold front, they've moved over even higher, taking down that tower as well. So looking pretty desperate right now for Absolute Legends.
Yeah, it's really starting to turn against them. I don't think I like that attack there from the Shen onto, you know, like it was almost a 4-on-2 engagement. Shen ulting in on Kha'Zix jumping in. But they did manage to pick up Broken Shard largely because a taunt managed to pull him under the tower. So I kind of wonder whether, like, just on reflection, whether even that aspect was a little bit lucky. We've actually got the ultimate now coming out from Rumble. He has put it down, but it's not going to be enough damage. And obviously that Hex Drinker now procking on Irelia. So Irelia really coming out strong in this lane, actually just straight up winning it without really kind of doing all that much, to be honest. Like just solidly playing the whole lane, and is now really looking very strong indeed.
I really like the Hex Drinker and Negatron Cloak pickup for Irelia against Rumble, because it's just hard countering him. He's simply not doing enough damage to her, and as you said before, she has so much AD and AP on top of her abilities that just rip through the opposition, so Rumble just cannot stand you know, toe-to-toe with Irelia. He is going to get destroyed, and now Irelia has a level advantage, going to be recalling, and maybe picking up additional items here. Hasn't added anything as of yet. There we go. We're going to have Merc Tread, so even more magic resist on top of Irelia, who's already looking very strong. Ping's going down towards bot lane. Kaostv is coming around from the backside. There's no tower here, so if he goes in, could manage to pick himself up some kills. Look at that damage just from the Q there. Draven's going to be turning around. Frozen Tomb has been popped onto Snipify, but Lyssandra's all by herself at this point. Does take down the kill courtesy of Sona, who picks up a second. Here comes Broken Shard, though, taking down Draven, looking for the secondary kill onto Bano, who leaps away, narrowly escaping the fear proc, but does a beautiful job of actually turning this one back round. Broken Shard popped the paranoia, and we are going to have the kill picked up from Bano, so maybe just a bit too aggressive from Nocturne there, and Hubris was his downfall.
Yeah, as so often the case, it just kind of comes out like that. I mean, it's just really hard. Actually, Pano now potentially also engaging in a little bit of hubris there, going for that aggression on Ezreal, but punished for it pretty thoroughly. But we did actually see in the meantime Irelia being forced out of the lane in that top. Shen did gank, Rumble did put down the damage, but they weren't able to kill her, so they might be able to force her off this tower. They might be able to take that down, but is that really going to be worth it from them? I mean, how many kills did they just lose at that bot lane?
They're kind of just hemorrhaging kills at this point, and I'm trying to figure out from Absolute Legends' perspective, as I'm talking, I actually have picked up the top tower, but here's Lysandra from the side, popping in there with the Ring of Frost. The Equalizer comes down. Is it going to be enough damage? Doesn't look likely, but you do have the teleport coming in from Kha'Zix. He's going to pop off the ultimate, fires out the Void Spikes, but here's Broken Shard. It's just each team answering the call of their comrades, coming in strong here, and the Void Spikes at the end, plus the leap, should signify that Bano and High Switch will be just fine for now, pulling themselves back. Drake has respawned, and the AD and support duo have realized that, look, most of the opposition team is at top lane. Let's just try and pick up this, but Ezreal's going to go ahead and steal it. So it's beautiful play. Absolute Legends probably feeling like they're pretty damn sneaky, but they're actually gone and given a free Drake to TCM, who are already leaping ahead. You do have Kha'Zix going dangerously low. Stand United's been popped on top of him once again. This tower is very low. Broken Shard is taking lots of damage, but is going to manage to get the Q away there. So the Duskbringer coming good, and just frantic, fast-paced action throughout the map, Spuddington, and a Drake steal from Ezreal. Beautiful.
Yeah, assuming no smite. I mean, Ezreal is one of the kings of holding on to that Drake, and obviously he has Spirit of the Elder Lizard, which is going to amplify his damage against neutral creeps. We have actually got a fight going on. Kaostv is potentially getting caught out here. He has popped Zonya's ult. Zola now getting aggressive on Rumble, who has overheated. He is going to go down at one hit from anything at this point. So low. He's getting chased down, but it doesn't look like the taunt might keep him alive. Bano going for Kaostv. He's going to go stealth, but feared out. Does get taken down by Broken Shard. Meanwhile, Rumble is actually just about alive. The Equalizer comes down. Zola getting quite kind of held off at a very much at arm's length. Does actually end up picking up neither of those two, but the Ezreal ult doesn't either. But we have now got Sona coming in with the King Initiate, and it's actually Broken Shard who's going to pick up one. But then Sona picks up the other with the Q power chord, and now TCM are just absolutely storming ahead.
We have got Carry Sona with 3 kills here thus far. And yeah, King of Engage, as you say, the initiate coming in from Nocturne from a Broken Shard, 11-5. And it seems that 2-0 scoreline that Broken Shard predicted prior to the game starting could very well be on track. Top tower is getting dangerously low. Draven's trying his best to pick up the bottom tower in retaliation, but he needs to be careful. He doesn't want to stand and bang with the Ezreal, and he's doing a lot of damage right now. Top tower does go down. Bottom tower is still refusing to go. And Draven and Ezreal stay down at the bot lane. We actually have a 2-level advantage for Nanook here, but Draven's going so aggressive. He's going all the way past the tower. The barrier has been popped and he picks up the kill. Doesn't care about the level discrepancy. He's still going to claim the scalp of the Ezreal.
Yeah, good luck to him though, frankly, because now Nocturne is getting really angry, getting onto him, but he is catching those axes. He's doing a lot of damage. Whirling Death comes down, and now he's just going to get blown up by Lissandra. But you saw there actually a really well played, style actually there by Snipify. He kind of... Kaostv was coming around in a really long route. He went via the red-blue buff, so he went all the way around. He went down through the bot lane and then down back behind Draven. And Draven, I think, was aware that that was going to happen. Nanook then tried to kind of bait him, tried to kind of keep him around to make sure he couldn't escape that gank from Kaostv. And in so doing, you ended up seeing... him getting kind of like underestimating the sheer damage and the sheer chasing potential of Draven. And then you had the same thing coming in with Broken Shard. Obviously, you've got Draven just putting down the damage. Obviously, in the end, Lissandra did catch up, but, 2 for 1. So we have now got some potential for... I want to say some potential for Absolute Legends here, but they are still a long way behind. There's a big goal discrepancy. It did close up a little bit, and they do have quite a strong team in some respect. They do have good scaling. They do have good split pushing. They have a lot of damage, but I've got to ask, Metas, can they actually stand up to the amount of, of CC and poke that will be coming out from TCM?
I'm not sure, because Kaostv is looking very aggressive, and he's picked the right champion to do just that. We do have an engage from Nocturne onto bot lane here. Snipify is not long for this world. Going to be an easy kill from Nanook on Ezreal, and getting a bit of revenge for that tower dive just a few moments prior. Kha'Zix's going to be jumping in here alongside Shen. Nice crescendo through right away. Frost as well will go on. Here comes the equalizer though. Sona goes down very aggressively. Now going to be engaging on towards Kaostv, who misses the claw there. He will be going down as soon as he comes up from this Zhonya's hourglass. In fact, will he as he flashes away? Yes, he will. Rumble secures the kill. Now going towards Zola. This would be a huge pickup for Absolute Legends. That's going to be a 3-for-1 trade with just the 1 kill going at bot lane. But can Ezreal come in and clean things up here? Rumble is very, very low. Broken Shard from the side. Paranoia, of course, was used previously in that engage at bot, so he can't be jumping on the opposition here. He's going to flash in and use his fear as well. Kha'Zix from the backside. Ezreal claims 1 kill. How's he going to fare up in a 1v1 between himself and Kha'Zix? Flashing through back on towards Ice Witch. The Void Spikes do come out, catching Ezreal on the backside, doing lots of damage, but won't pick up the kill. And TCM do manage to pull themselves back a couple kills, so not quite as one-sided as it looked at the beginning there.
Yeah, I don't like the fact that Absolute Legends actually stuck around, though. Having gotten most of their kills, they then kind of got a little bit greedy, thought they could take out, Nuke there as well, but he obviously just played the fish quite slippery, got, over that wall and then back again to keep himself out of that aggro range, and then ended up recovering quite a lot from TCM's perspective. However, Absolute Legends catching out Kaostv. The thing about the claw is that you can't actually jump to the claw if you're CC'd. And Janna actually there did a perfect Howling Gale. Disrupted just before, knowing the moment when Kaostv would want to use that teleport, just disrupted it. So he was actually left in that horrible situation in the middle of the enemy team, having already used Frozen Tomb aggressively. He did have his Zhonya's, but obviously got focused out of the fight very quickly. So still, Absolute Legends do look like they're going to be grouping up now, going to be going for this aggressive push down mid. Lissandra is top. We have got Broken Shard just moving away from that bottom lane, heading towards mid. Does actually look like we might see a dragon play here. We have got the Ezreal ult coming up through the river. They are obviously now aware there of where Absolute Legends are, who are going to be putting out a couple of wards, going to be trying to get some control over the area. Zola is here. He does stand on a ward, which may be ill-advised, but there is an Oracle, so they can clear that out, and it does look like we're going to see a bit of a dance-off.
Yeah, we are going to see a dance. You have the Oracles on Sona, and Kha'Zix at the bot lane. You know, I was saying before this game in Champion Select, I will switch over to the team fight if it kicks off here. But I was saying before in Champion Select that Rumble is a threat. However, having said that, speaking of Rumble, you do have Broken Shard jumping in really deep onto Snipify. Does get the Fear proc as well. Stand United has been popped just to keep Draven alive for an extra few seconds. Here comes Kha'Zix from the side. It's a 1-1 so far. Beautiful crescendo on top of the Frozen Tomb, though, is going to completely obliterate Absolute Legends. And that is a 1 for 5 with a perfect initiate from Nocturne, going straight in there, forcing the Stand Unite, then picking up the kill for his team. That's going to be a free Drake as well. But to go back onto the point that I was trying to make earlier, I say that's going to be a free Drake, but it seems they prefer to take down the second tier tower, which is actually a very good idea, because Drake, of course, is going to respawn. Your towers, however, do not. So they are going to pick up this second tier tower. As I was saying before, in Champion Select, I was saying, you know, they have a lot of threats. They've got Draven, they've got Rumble, they've got Kha'Zix, but Rumble has just not got going in this game. 1 for 6, has a Haunting Guise and a Seeker's Arm Guard alongside a Giant's Belt. You compare that to Aurelia, she's way too tanky for him right now. And Nocturne is doing more damage than Rumble is at this point, with the Spirit of the Elder Lizard alongside all the health that he is getting, plus the shield from the Lock at the Dying Solari. So TCM have picked up the second tier tower, picked up the Drake, going to recall and probably add a lot of items to their builds.
Yeah, now 10k gold difference between them. And I like what you're saying actually there about Rumble being very, very tanky. I mean, he's built that Seeker's Arm Guard, he's built, you know, Giant's Belt and the Amptome, but he's not really got very much damage. I know Rumble does have very high base damages just on his skills, and especially if he's in the danger zone, but the problem is he really synergizes well with that Liandry's. The reason people build Spellpan on him so much is because Liandry's applies so well on almost every single one of his abilities. I mean, the ult slows and also applies it multiple times. His Q applies it multiple times. His E slows and applies it multiple times. It's an incredibly strong item on him. And obviously that means that just building loads of flat pen, in addition to the fact that he has that, obviously that, those high base damages, means that that's pretty much all the damage he ever needs. But he's had to build so much tank that he can't really afford to. We've actually got Broken Shard going in on Snipify, who is just being locked down at the moment. Has had to flash out of there. Kha'Zix down going for the Broken Shard kill, but can't do it. Had to jump out. So that's actually a flash burn in return for Paranoia. So in the brief window where Paranoia is down, obviously that's going to be a little bit more valuable from the perspective of Absolute Legends. But TCM obviously are just going to be happy to force out this Baron. They have still got that Oracles, and they still have the potential to make this happen. Kaostv is circling around.
Yeah, very true. And actually, Abyss could be getting caught out here. Claw comes out, forcing the flash. Now, it's important to note here that Paranoia has a 92-second cooldown, and Flash on Draven has a 300-second cooldown. So that was a big victory there for TCM. Doesn't feel like it, but Draven has no other escapes. If he gets caught when Paranoia comes back up, he will die. Unless you get some, well, exquisite peeling coming off from his team, which we haven't really seen thus far in the game. Stand Unite, simply not enough. Janna hasn't really been able to use the Monsoons correctly, or at least efficiently, purely on the basis that haven't been positioning very well. They've been positioning in claustrophobic corridors where you really don't want to fight against the likes of Lysandra, as the True Shot Barrage comes right through the middle. They have caught onto High Switch. He's so tanky, but look how quickly he drops there. You're not going to have Nocturne getting the kill on towards Shen. Equalizer comes down. That's going to be 3 kills without any retaliation whatsoever. Here comes Zola from the backside. Could very well pick up the kill on towards Rumble, who flashes away. There's the ultimate again from Broken Shard. And that's going to be a very dead Rumble plus Kha'Zix. That's going to be the clean ace. 5 for 0. In fact, I'll correct that one. 5 for 1 as the tower goes and scumbags onto Zola right at the end there. But that could very well be the GG Spuddington at just 29 minutes through this game.
TCM are very dominant right now. I'm a little surprised, actually. I feel like they could have taken out a Nexus Tower.
Me too.
Or potentially gone for that Baron buff, but actually, Baron buff might have been a bit pushing it. But probably just going to be playing it safe, just going to go back and recall. I mean, there is always a danger if you go for that Nexus Tower that your opponents will then respawn while you're very low. either clean you up or force a Baron immediately while you're still low, so you're left with that, you know, awkward situation where you have to either go back or fight for the Baron very, very low HP. But it's still looking so good for TCM. I mean, you saw Shen is by far the tankiest member of well, actually, maybe Rumble's tankier, but Shen and Rumble obviously just getting completely melted in spite of the fact that the typical way you think about the blue build on Ezreal is that his damage is subpar by comparison to, you know, a kind of vanilla AD carry build. I hesitate to call Draven's build a vanilla style, but if you have that standard AD carry build, you are typically associated with doing more damage. But honestly, right now, Nanook seems to be doing more damage. He's doing it safer and from a range. We actually now potentially have, oh, Bano face planting the wall, but it's not going to matter. Kautar does have a lot of invulnerability, but it's not going to matter. Bano now actually running for his life. Shen ult coming in, a miscommunication, he walks away, and now we have got High Switch going for the taunt, does land it onto Mega Pizza, who is going to be looking for this, the crescendo across 4, and now we've got Zola in from the side. He's going to be trying to clear this up. He does manage to do so. Bano goes down. We've now got Shen flashing over the wall to try and get out, but again, I feel Absolute Legends overstayed.
I agree, 100%. They got the pick on Lissandra. They know that they are a country mile behind TCM at this point, and they still went in. The ultimate came down from Shen on towards, I believe it was Kha'Zix there. Again, Bano and High Switch coming together, but the problem is that he didn't need to go and taunt into the bush, and the fact that Lissandra played pretty much no part in that team fight, and they still got crushed in a 2v3, it's where the alarm bells begin to ring. And you know, I called GG after they took the inhib. I honestly thought the Absolute Legends may throw in the towel there and surrender the first game because it's been so one-sided these last 10 minutes. But credit to them, they're fighting on to the bitter end. Baron has been taken from TCM as expected, and yet more items are built up from their team. You've got a Randu in Zoman and Irelia. You've got Zoni's Hourglass, as we already knew, on Lissandra alongside the Leandra's Torment. So it's looking precarious at best. You have to say 2 bulwarks as well picked up for TCM. So they are just massively tanky and very, very difficult to take down.
It's a very interesting style, actually, on that Lissandra build. She's playing more like a sustained damage tank. She's playing actually very much like you would expect Rumble, and actually going in behind does put the tome down onto that Rumble, who just has time to get off the equalizer, but it barely does any damage, and then you just have an insta-dead person there. Bano now, very awkward spot here. He may look to try and take out Sona, but I'm not sure he actually has the damage. She has got a bulwark. Bano now just going to be running away, but in the bottom lane we have now got Snipify going so low again. The nuke is going a little bit aggressive. Snipify does get away with his life. Broken Shard picks up that kill off to the side, and now we have got the Ezreal just missing Snipify, but we have also got High Switch trying to duel out Zola. He doesn't really have the damage, but I don't think Zola does either, so neither side going to be too upset about that. But that bottom tower is getting pressed down, and we have got Draven respawning with the home guard. He is not going to be able to get there to stop that in-here push, and it's just looking worse and worse here. For Absolute Legends, can they even hold off their Nexus at this point?
It looks like they're going to do that because TCM are playing very safe here, and you can't blame them. They don't want to give away a pointless team ace to Absolute Legends and give them a road back at some light at the end of the tunnel. So they are trying to basically choke them out here and make it as claustrophobic and as uncomfortable and painful as possible. So you do still have Bano down for an extra couple seconds. He has respawned again, and Lissandra is moving up from spawn, but still a lot of Baron buffs on the cards here for TCM. Going to be stealing away the red buff from Absolute Legends, and there's not a great deal Absolute Legends can do here because Raven's doing a fair amount of damage, Kha'Zix doing a fair amount of damage, but they simply cannot stand up to TCM. Rumble is dying so fast in each team fight. He's picked up the Royal Age Crystal Scepter. It's going to make him nice and tanky, but again, he's not doing that much damage. Even if he gets the perfect equalizer down, it's not really doing anything, and Irelia is just going to laugh, jump over it, and start melting Draven. His team can't really peel for him anymore.
And honestly, how do you peel against something like the Nocturne Irelia? One of them is Tenacity built into her kit, one of them, both of them have on-target gap closers, one of which covers half the damn map. And it's just so hard to peel that kind of thing off Maybe if they both commit at the same time, then Janna can knock him off, but I wouldn't bet on that happening because obviously TCM are well aware that Draven is really the only damage threat they need to worry about, and even then, they are aware that he's not going to be as threatening to them as he is, you know, potentially threatening. We do actually have the claw going in. We have actually got the equalizer getting baited out. The Frozen Tomb down on Kaostv, who is just going to be trying to back out here. It does look like a bit of a messy engagement there. Zola going down very, very low. We have now actually got the damage flowing in over the wall. Kaostv looking for this, and that broken shard going straight onto Rumble, but not able to get it. Does get Tornado, does get blown up by Kha'Zix, but this third inhib now is being pressured. We have got Kha'Zix now looking to try and poke them off it, but it's gone down. We now have the triple inhib, double super minion waves coming in. Actually, no, one of them's respawned, so that's not such a big problem. But TCM are actually gonna go for that middle inhib instead to make me correct. So thank you for that, TCM. And now it's just looking honestly like it's the dying breaths of Absolute Legends here. I really don't see how they can pull this back.
They're on life support, aren't they? It's not looking good. It's really not looking good. Kaostev's going to go down from Draven again. That's been a reoccurring theme the last few minutes. But at what cost? It doesn't seem to really matter. Even if they pick up a kill, as you said, double waves of super minions are breathing down the necks of Absolute Legends. They can't hope to push out their base for the next few minutes at least. Now, I guess the only consolation prize or the only glimmer of hope is that they're going to get quite a bit of farm from this, but it's going to give TCM all the time they need to make their way, make the perfect play. Draven is just getting popped every team fight. Nocturne is typically, as you'd expect, using Paranoia to jump onto Draven and try and burst him down as soon as possible. Irelia just being a real pain in the backside, jumping onto Rumble, jumping onto Kha'Zix, trying to make sure they don't get any damage down. So they're going to try and stave off this onslaught from super minions, but I feel it's just delaying the inevitable here. TCM will take this game unless they make a massive error. In fact, not just one, they're going to have to make 2 or 3 consecutively to throw this game.
I've seen bigger throws, maybe. It's a possibility that it could happen still. They're not completely out. It's not one of those situations where they are just so far ahead they can absolutely ignore damage. We've actually got Broken Shot going in onto Rumble. He is just going to put down some damage, and it's just an easy kill there. And now it's 4v5 double super minion waves with the team behind. Guardian Angel's been picked up on Draven though, so whoopee. I don't think he's going to be pleased about the situation. We have got a GG well played coming out from Janna, and it does look like we're just going to be watching through this last little bit of pressure. They are going to poke down this tower. We have got Irelia going right up to the tower, doing a bit of damage here. We've got the Tornado coming out, the Claw coming out. Kaostv looking for this Frozen Tomb, go down to Snipperfight. Snipperfight is just completely locked up and deleted, and now he's going to get an Ezreal ult to the face, although it was actually Zola that managed to pick up the kill. It's not going to be a huge problem for him. The Claw comes across the Nexus. Nobody cares. It's over. This game is done.
Yeah, Draven picked up the GA basically just to die twice. Like that's how stylistic and how awesome Draven is. Whenever he dies in style. So that is going to be a very comfortable 1-0 lead now for TCM. This is a best of 3, remember, so we do potentially have another 2 games to go. But Broken Shard is on track for his prediction that he said it would be a comfortable 2-0 victory. So we're going to cut to a very quick commercial break, ladies and gents. When you rejoin us, we'll be live for game number 2 between TCM and Absolute Legends here in the quarterfinals of the EUS Challenger Series number 4. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.